Hey everyone, Tony D with another hot take. This one is about Iraq. Man, what is this? What is this, 2004? Um, so, if you haven't heard, the United States Embassy in Iraq got attacked by some of the local militiamen in response to an airstrike or several airstrikes the United States took against some of the groups in Iraq. Now, what you have to understand is the Iraqi government, before we invaded Iraq under the Bush administration, was run by the Baathists. And the Shiite majority was kind of oppressed. The Baathists were secular. And although I believe there were a lot of Sunni in that mix. But after things went kaplooey in Iraq after we invaded, the genie kind of came out of the bottle and the Shiites went after the Sunni. The Sunni controlled sort of like the money, but, ultimately they were outnumbered and outgunned. So, but they were also propped up by the Saudis. The Shiites, however, are propped up by the Iranians, who are all Shiites mainly. And then caught in the crossfire were all the other people and other religions, and the Baathists, well, a lot of those guys just got killed. Although I think they're still roaming around there somewhere. But, you can be a Baathist and a Sunni and a Baathist and a Shiite or whatever. But long story short, once we invaded Iraq under Bush, we basically handed the country to the Iranians because it was inevitable that the Shiites would run things because they make up the majority of the country and they control the most area. The only places they don't control are the parts the Kurds control up north and a tiny section that the Sunnis control, and of course the areas that we control through military bases and stuff like that. So the rapid response was a good thing for our embassy and the people there. They were able to do that because we still have a ton of people there. Too many people, in my view. We should take them all out. All of them. Just get out of Iraq. Get out of this mess. Why are we there? What good is it doing any of us? Are we getting oil from the Iraqis? Do we even need their oil anymore after all the oil that's been discovered here? Make peace with the Iranians, cut a deal, and get the hell out of the Middle East. Just cut a deal with them. What difference, Razorfist was talking about this. People were asking him about it on his Twitter feed, and he said you have basically two choices. Suck it up, go in and invade, which I think is the worst option, or recognize them as a power and trade with them. That, I think, is the most sensible option. Now he called them both, terrible options. I would argue that the trade option is a good option because, number one, you're not going to see Americans killed. And number two, we're going to be better at trade than the Iranians ever will be. And in fact, if we cut a good deal with them, instead of letting this drag on until they finally find a way around us, we can exploit the Iranians just as well as we exploit everybody else. I mean, we can go in there and build McDonald's and Hiltons and whatever and make a ton of money. And, the Iranians, they don't have all the technology they want. They certainly have money to spend. They have oil and resources, and we can use those. Same thing with the Russians. I mean, there is absolutely no reason we shouldn't make peace with everybody and trade with them. Why wouldn't we do that? We could make so much money. And yes, you have to recognize that these other governments, especially the Iranians, are not nice people. They do terrible things to their people. But in times of peace, what happens is, with all this trade going on, it undermines these despotic governments because the people there start to become comfortable. They start to become aware of the other cultures and how much comfortable they are. And without us saber rattling, they have no one to justify all their despotic regime stuff too, because people just go, listen, there's no reason for this extreme stuff. There's no reason for these extreme laws. Stop them, please. And you undermine the regime by having trade and peace. You look at the Cold War with the Soviets. What undermined the Soviets more than anything was the fact that we had more money, and then people in Russia wanted jeans and ice cream and rock and roll music, and that undermined the regime. And look at them now. They're a federation. They're not a despotic regime. Now you can argue they're very corrupt. They are, but the fact they have elections, the fact they have multiple parties, they will eventually evolve their way to a better democracy, hopefully. And if they continue to trade and see us do it right, although people complain here, the biggest thing we'll have to worry about is the complaints from the SJWs in Russia, and those are small things to worry about. It's better than having people killed. Trade wars are, to a large extent, they're not real wars. People don't get blown up. Some people might get hurt. Some people might even die as a result. I mean, sanctions are an act of war. But trade wars, we can beat people economically. We've always done that. We have all the money. You think Iran is not a threat to us financially. It's not a threat to us militarily. So why not cut a deal? Let them be prosperous. Let us benefit from it. Let's do the same with the Russians. Let's do the same with everybody. And just stop with all this militarism. And yes, there's going to be some problems. There's going to be problems. People are, there's going to be drones and threats and other saber rattling, and we will need some sort of military presence, in the oceans and keep trade, and there'll be incidents. But, if we pull back the troops, a lot of those incidences will be minimal, because there won't be that tension there that's constantly at the forefront of what we do. We could actually have real negotiations where it's like, well, you run that part of the world and we run this part of the world. And then that's the way things work. And we're going to cut a deal with you. You cut a deal with us. And treating people fairly. Now, it doesn't mean we're wimps about it. It doesn't mean we give up all our guns. It just means that we're not so militaristic about it. We don't occupy countries. We're not gaining anything by occupying Iraq except making everybody in Iraq mad. We made everybody in parts of Japan mad. They're still angry for us for occupying their country. They'd like us to leave. It undermines their government. It undermines the government in Afghanistan. It undermines the government in South Korea sometimes. So it's time to bring the troops home. Please do that, Donald Trump. This is one of my big disagreements with Trump. I would love to see him roll up the war machine a lot quicker and make some real strides in that. Don't leave guys guarding Syrian oil fields. I hope that's a temporary situation, but, at least he's being sort of open about why they're there. But let's get this Iran thing done, and let's push the warmongers out. They just want to go in and beat up everybody and take their resources. I say cut a deal. We can beat them financially. And that should really be Trump's pitch, because he has proven himself a capable financial manager, on a global scale. Why wouldn't he be able to beat the Iranians? I mean, come on. Obama could have beat the Iranians at finance, and he wasn't particularly good at it. Even Bush probably could have beat it. We have an economy that's so many more times larger than the Iranians. How could we possibly lose against them? It just doesn't make any sense. Cut a deal with them. If you're worried about Saudi Arabia, it's simple. You force them into the same deal you got with the Saudis. You got to take dollar bills for your oil, and then we'll cut the deal. Boom, and then we can get back to business. Stop watching people blow up. Be nice, huh?